is pelangi, which is tie-dye, which I showed you just now, but I show you again. I have a tie-dye piece here. So these squares are tie-dye. So we use a different technique, not just always embroidery only. Then we have applique. So a lot of this, the flowers are stuck on. It's in relief. And then I matched it with a Indian-inspired batik, the patola pattern. So this is Suryani Senja, one of my friends. She's wearing a 100-year-old selendang made of pelangi with a contemporary baju kurung. And this is following the Cham people in Cambodia. The Chams were Malay speaking, and they made these kind of pelangi shawls. Next. So she's wearing a similar one, but with a geometric pattern sarong with gradation of color. So different, right, from the floral embroidery and the floral batiks. And this one is over there. I still have it. Next. And tapestry. We seldom use tapestry in our dressing. So all these are tapestry weaves for the samping, for the kemben, and for the jacket. Next. Anyaman. Anyaman for clothing. My friends were all upset. Why you use something on the floor for your clothing? This is not traditional. I said no. Some of the Ibans and tribal people actually use it for clothing. So I invented my own clothing with these. Next. Next. Who made her dress, made a haute couture gown with patterns that she saw in her daughter's diary. She digitalized the patterns and printed them on the mats. And I had a project with Satya Real Estate. They wanted me to do a fashion show, but the restriction was only using Malaysian batiks from the past to the present. So Malaysian batiks only started in the 1920s. So this was the style of the 1920s. And this is a 1920 batik with the old Terengganu label. So I kept the label to show that it's Terengganu style. Next. All these are vintage Malaysian batik with a vintage kabaya. Next. This I show you. I use a tapestry shawl. This is done by tapestry weave with the same color combination, blue, yellow, and white. And that one is kabaya labo with a Terengganu batik. Next. And I like the marbling effect they do in the local batiks. And there are streaks of yellow in that. Can you see the yellow here? Then I match with the yellow in the kabaya and the shawl, which is also Malaysian. So Malaysian batik, many people have a bad feeling about it. The colors don't match. They're not as elegant and refined as the Indonesian ones. But I love it. It has its own charm. You have to look. There are good pieces. Next. All this is Malaysian batik. These are done in Terengganu. They do it as a set. The cloth is very long. So they do it for the sarong and for the bajus. So I cut it up and make it into baju kabayas. And with the men, I matched it with a lace shirt. Next. This is batik tulis by Malaysian on silk. Next. This is more contemporary batik tulis. No, batik chop. This is batik chop. Tektura, the brand, Malaysian brand. I have to confess, it's more difficult, much more difficult to match with Malaysian batik because there's not a lot of choices. The range is much more limited. Whereas Indonesia, right? Almost every island is now doing batik. You know, I have batik ganggang. Have you ever heard of that? It's done in Penyanyat. Penyanyat is where the Riau Lingga kingdom was, and ganggang is the shell, the snail that you take and eat. They have lots of it there, so all their batiks have these snails on it. It's very interesting. So the choice is a lot, but Malaysian choice is little, but you have to look. And sometimes you can find really nice pieces. Next. This one was beautiful, the shawl, hand done. So I did this combination. And that one I showed you just now. And even her shawl, her hijab is batik Indonesia. Look at this, it's stunning.
Like a tiger.
Yeah, and I still have this shibori, this tie-dye top in silk. Next. And then Indian batik. And this is the latest batik that they did in Perak. It's called batik tanah liat, where they use a computer to generate a 3D chart made of plastic. You can design your own pattern on computer, and once you get it, you mix a mixture of clay, and you chop it onto the clay, and you chop it onto the cloth. Then you dye it, so the part that has the clay is not dyed. So they get this pattern, so the white areas are clay, and then you just wash the clay with cold water. You don't have to have all that hot water for the wax. Very easy to make. So it's now becoming very popular at Perak. And Sarawak also does it. It's called batik tanah liat, batik of the earth. And there's another one called batik linot. See on this one. This is batik linot. It's done by linot is a language of Muka in Sarawak. It's sego. So with the sego glue, they do this pattern and then they dip it so the part that's covered with sego is white. That one is also. And then these are my friends. She's wearing a wonderful baju kurung, but made of silk from Hyderabad. And she matches it with a Thai ikat. She's using a Burmese ikat with another Indian textile here, ikat from Hyderabad. Next. And this is my matching with Indian textiles. Next. Next. Okay, wait. Ritz, the video. I have a small tips on my fashion show.
I always like to have my events in a more three-dimensional aspect. It's not just the clothing.
This
Also
tapestry week.
the history. It's not just the history, it's also the play.
My fashion
Also
show
the music. I
music,
told all my friends we have 12 categories of
and
events.
all the guests.
Why do we only
the
see
dress code.
sockets and batiks? It's time that we venture forward. So we're going to see tapestry, we're going to see balani, which is tie-dye, we're going to see embroidery, all used on the bajus of contemporary designers.
Even the musicians were dressed in my textiles. This is tie-dye. This pink jumbo. I dressed the men in pink and purple. This is tie-dye again. This is ikat. Tie-dye. Tapestry weave. Songket. Ikat. Tapestry weave. Ikat. Tapestry weave. Songket and embroidery. Songket. Songket. This is a lace. Songket with lurex. Embroidery. Embroidery. I had an auction. This is a lima, which I'll be exhibiting. This is Indian tie-dye. anyaman. So I'm trying to promote all kinds of textiles, not just batik. Next, it's a fashion show I did at Textiles. I'm going to this one. I'm going to this show. This is Kalingam embroidery. This type of embroidery is around, for one shot we sell like 75,000 ringgit. I'm selling here for a whole budget, only 1,000 ringgit. It's a prince. This was a video tablet. Next. So with that, I want to thank you. And then we just do a few more below that. No more, I guess. Okay. On Orchard Road, right? We had my grandmother got married at the age of 13. So the babies kept plopping out, one after the other, until the 18th one. So,
18?
Yeah, 18
Wow.
children, ended up with 250 grandchildren.
Wow.
And most of them lived in the house. So the house had over 100 people. I can remember it was 3 of those Peranakan terrace houses joined together, and it was 3 stories. So the men never married. When they married, they stayed in each family had one big room, which they shared. So my grandmother would import slaves. She would buy slaves from China to service all her grandchildren. So my sister and I had a slave to look after us.
The ama, is it?
Yeah. They're not servants. We had servants also, but the slaves were special because they looked after the grandchildren. And when they reached 21, they were allowed to get married, and my grandmother will give the dowry and they can leave the family. So it's not like forever the slave of the family. So they would take us out to play. We'd go to the marketplace and play the tikam, or they would take us to see the Chinese opera. And a lot of their friends are actors, so we get to see how they make up backstage. It's very interesting.
By slaves, you mean the indentured
They
servants?
purchase them, yeah. So they don't give them a salary. Because most of these are poor girls from families who cannot afford to feed them. So it was actually good to help them out. So they all lived in the house. And I remember when we have dinners, first all the men eat in a round table. Lots of dishes, I remember. The cockroach, the sea hum, it came in big plates like that, And then after that, the children and the wives ate, and then after that, the slaves and the servants ate. So like 3, and there's still leftover. So the leftover, they will make it for breakfast with porridge. So all these are memories that don't happen anymore.
And how you fell asleep with the slaves pending,
Yeah.
and all looking at you,
Yeah, the houses had very high ceilings, so they had all these antique cabinets, and the owls would perch and nest on the cabinets. So when we were sleeping, right, we were actually facing Orchard Road. I can hear the cars, so sometimes it's very hard to sleep, and it was hot, so the servants would be fanning us, and then we're looking up, and the owls would look at us, staring at us.
I think
I'll be 70. Looking forward to 70.
you're perfectly preserved.
Yeah. You don't look above 50.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I feel I'm 80 though. Sometimes it's like so tired when I get off the Grab.
So this was in the 1950s.
Late 50s, yes. I was born in 56. After I was born, from Chicago we moved to New York, and then we took the Queen Mary from New York through the Red Sea to Malta, Gibraltar. We landed in Mumbai for a while because a lot of our friends were Indian, and then from there we went to Singapore. So some of the friends that we met on the ship are still our friends from those days. So I tell my Indian friends, I went to Mumbai it was Bombay in 1956. They look at me, oh wow.
Have you brought your book?
I'm
Be a
trying
life
to
story.
I'm trying to write a book on my textiles, which I haven't started. The mee siam sauce.
Curry. Curry chicken. The curry. Yeah, what is it called? Curry chicken. Maybe
Why
it's
curry chicken?
It's
chicken curry.
Kari, chikan. Chikan. So it's a technique they do in Lucknow. So do you
When I bought it
know?
on Facebook, he said it's not curry chicken. I was like,
So you know,
yeah, curry chicken.
when I went to Lucknow, I saw a different world. First of all, the weather is so pleasant, it's so cool and nice. It's not like hot India, right? And then all the palaces and the mosques, because they were ruled by Nawabs. Nawabs are the Muslim sultans in the north. The Pakistanis also call them Nawabs. So if you want to see part of their culture, go to the movie Hira Mandi. Heeramandi. Like harem mandi, bathing the harem. It's actually a harem. So all the rich men would go to these harems after they have their dinners with their families, and they will stay until 2-3 in the morning before they go back to their wives. And their wives know about it. They don't have sex because they're not prostitutes, but some do. But it's just entertainment for men, and they dance and they sing for the men.
Like geishas.
Yeah, like geishas.
Very nice. I think the thing is like
When you mention Orchard Road, you know, the hills and all that,